We'll do it live.
And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. They were good once, but things have moved on.
The head's not quite on the right place. That's his little issue that he's got to work on for the moment.
My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Look, I'm all for innovation, and I advocated putting a scrum half in the line out. It sounds great, but it's bollocks idea, really.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by PRO14 Rugby, where as always we attempt to deliver half-baked opinions served up as authoritative rugby analysis. My name's Andy McGeady. We're going out live as always on the PRO14 social channels, so across Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Hello, some of the regulars already. We'll get to you very shortly. Paul Williams, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm really noticing that Sean is doing his best Williams impersonation. There is a beard and there's glasses. Mr. Holley, how are you?
We never saw Peter Sutcliffe or Paul Williams in the same room. Do you remember that? Did you realise that?
I know. Yeah.
No, I've been wearing. I am a glasses wearer. I've got a astigmatism, so a little bit both ways. But the dog ate my glasses.
Here we go.
Early lockdown. Look, my old pair are really small and a little bit outdated. So I'm getting some headaches. I realise I need to wear my glasses. So I'm going to be a bit like Ronnie Corbett tonight. You know.
This is going to be great on your giant chair. It's very appropriate. So Sean Holley, Paul Williams, we have super producer Adam Edmond in the background pulling the strings as always. And hello to the regulars already in. Michael Jenkins, hi from Pembrokeshire, West Wales. Howell Davis, good evening. Rugby Mung Glasgow, hello from Glasgow. Ollie Hughes, Mara DeMarco, Jamo James, Ewan Davis, Neil Roberts.
Jamo, that is.
Jamo, sorry. Chiefs Girl, how are you?
Hey, Chiefs Girl.
Hi, Chiefs
Harley
Girl.
Worthy is in. So we're all in. What are we going to get through tonight? There's a few things to get to. A lot of Six Nations action over the weekend. Some good games and plenty of talking points. So firstly, Wales's strategy of getting men sent off is doing very well.
Anyone unbeaten?
We'll get to that. But their ability to stay on the right side of the law is doing them there's nothing wrong with that right now. Italy's young crop of talent, they got beaten again, but we are seeing things just like last week that we continue to like, and we will discuss that. Ireland, worst start to the championship for many, many years. 2 losses on the trot. The provinces are good. What's going wrong? Why can't we turn that into test wins? Question. Will all the captains of the quote-unquote home nations actually go on the Lions tour should it happen? We'll get to that. Holly's heroes from the weekend. Kolisi to the Sharks in various movement news ahead of the Rainbow Cup. And Hamish Watson was doing some talking, and then he had to do more talking to undo his original talking, and we will get to that. Pull in your comments and questions, get them into the comments. We will pull a couple in during the show. We had some really good stuff come in as replies to Under the Sticks Twitter account earlier on tonight, so we will pull in some of those during the show, and then we'll get to the rest at the very end. So we didn't get the rugby we were owed. Friday, Dragons Edinburgh, Saturday, Glasgow, Benetton. So for those keeping score out there, we are still owed that rugby. Frozen pitches got in the way, so we had Six Nations to get to. England, Italy, we'll start at the top. 41-18. But Paul, we are enthusiastic about what we're seeing from this very young Italian side.
I think we should be. And I know there have been a lot of false dawns, and every Six Nations, there's always should Italy be playing in it. But I genuinely think that's the best group of youngsters. So I'm 43 going on 44. That's the best group of Italian youngsters I think I've seen at that age. So coming through en masse, so not like 1 or 2 trickling in. alongside senior players, almost like that sort of French under-20s, like they all moved up together in one raft. Not quite the same level, but I think Italy sort of got that coming through. So in key positions, yes, they got, largely hammered by England, but there are some things that Italy are doing, particularly their offloading. Like I say, they've got a strong spine coming through with young players. I think it's really promising. And I can understand why people say, oh, it's the same thing yet again. But they've never had this like proper regrowth coming through from the under 20s level. I don't think so.
Speaking of regrowth, that mic is rubbing off your beard, mate.
Oh, is it? I'm so sorry.
It is.
Is that why everyone's laughing at me?
I was
Yeah.
I messaged in the private chat. I think Paul's mic is rubbing off something. And I just looked at you and I realised it was there. And McGeady just put beard.
I'm so sorry, guys.
But you're right. We're seeing some really good stuff, and it's also the fact that they've deliberately gone to say, look, we're trusting that young group, and when you see that in a club or an international environment, it's really interesting because it says we are investing in this. There's going to be some losses, there's going to be some risk, but Sean, when you have a group of players together potentially for a long time, they get to learn a lot of things that are not perhaps things that we'd see explicitly, but they're implicit things that the players will learn about each other and perhaps get better.
Definitely, mate. I mean, it's the old Alan Hans, isn't it? You never win anything with kids. Well, let's take a leaf out of France at the moment. I've mentioned this before. I've commentated on the 2 under-20s World Cups that they won, and all those players pretty much, with more to come, are now in this resurgent, brilliant French team. And I think if we look at the under-20s Six Nations for the last couple of years, Italy have been far more improved in terms of their graph than the national team, haven't they?
Yeah.
Getting some real good results. So it makes sense that Franco goes with a group of players that have coming through together, understand one another, go through some experiences together, as you say, and get better together. On that stage, the quicker they get up and running in that stage, the better. And it's 41-18 and it's 50-10, but I got to be honest, we're seeing some good stuff.
Yeah,
they
didn't feel like that, did they? They didn't feel like pasting.
No.
Nope. It really didn't. We said that last week. We said if you watched 50-10, it didn't seem like a 50-10 game in terms of what the Italians brought to the party. And this one here, on another day, and I'm not saying it would have been a 1-in-10 shot. I'm saying literally 50-50, 50-50, different set of officials. And I won't go completely to town on the officials, but I do think the Italians got some bad luck in this game when you get 3 tries that another day could very reasonably go the other way on the decision. That's a huge swing.
And you know what?
But
I
they
think
didn't let it get them down.
Sorry, I was just going to say on top of that then, and they've got some players like Monty Ioane. If they can bring in, say, another handful of project players, right, to put around, I know that's a horrible swear word in rugby, project players, but look how good Ioane was on the weekend. It gives them a nice little bit of counter-attack from deep. So I think things are looking up for Italy. Give them 2 or 3 seasons, and I think they'll be vastly improved.
For the big two for me are the halfbacks. I mean, they're 19 and 20, mind, but when you're a coach, you should look, as much as talent and skill, you must look at character. And I go back to some like Dan Bigger, Reece Webb. You could see the character in those guys, even without knowing these fellas. You can see on the field, because you've seen Gabisi in the Pro14.
Yeah,
they have character. They have guile. They have mental strength, it seems, and they've obviously got talent. I think that's a real good recipe. I think you mentioned Monty Ioane showed up in the Guinness Pro14, didn't he? We've got Idogwu from Wasps, who's yet to come on. So yeah, and I like Lamaro.
Yeah,
is another one who shows up in the stats in the Pro14 a lot. We keep mentioning our love child Officiating, Blue set, and there's a lot. There's a Lottie. There's a Lottie.
There's a Lottie. There we go.
There's a Lottie. But no, it's we're talking positive all of a sudden.
Yeah, and the player I've been most impressed with is Varney, because you see a scrum half. Oh, how old is he? 19, 20, and you don't often see a scrum half of that age looking for blindside runs. you know, they're normally there, get it out, keep it simple, look for the pods. He's not afraid of anybody, you know. He's I've been really impressed with that boy.
Jamo James, Italy, in fairness, not miles away. They will shock a few of the lower teams like Ireland.
Oh God.
That's.
hang on.
I'm more worried about Wales going there. I mean, unless we can get an Italian sent off.
Ewan
That's-
Davies, Varney was grabbing hold and pulling Sinclair off driving mauls. I wouldn't fancy that. Well, he's
There we
got
go.
something about him. He's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
something about him. Let's get to some of the incidents. The big one, which went all over the place instantly and for various reasons afterwards, was the Johnny May try.
Oh,
Okay. Now, so there are two opinions on this. One, that he's diving for the line and it's grand, and the other one that he's jumping to avoid the tackle, which in itself is not against rugby law, but ergo reckless or dangerous play, and it should be a penalty to Italy. So, gentlemen, I don't think we're all agreed on this, but
no.
Sean, coach, I know more than you, Holley. What's your view?
No, actually, I was a little bit flummoxed on this one because I was in the train of thought when it happened. Wow, what a piece of athleticism and skill. And he is going for the try line, which he wasn't he? Because he got the ball down incredibly. So I'm in the majority of that court. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do understand Nigel Owens and the lawmakers' point about, well, if we advocate that, then it's going to be American football. We're going to be jumping over rucks and that. But I think there's an easy one there, is that you make the law far clearer. Because if you look at the law about sportsmanship and conduct, and it's vague for me. If I was looking at that, I'd struggle to make a case that Johnny May is not avoiding somebody and going for the line at the same time. We have some footage, fantastic, from super producer. Now, but this was born out of poor Italian defence. You know, there's a massive edge there that England exploit. I thought Watson was fantastic on the weekend, by the way. He looked electric every time he got the ball. And then it was a couple of phases that allowed them to get on that edge on the outside to put Johnny May. All wasn't lost for Italy, as it were, but you know, I'm going to find it hard to say to Johnny May, you haven't done a brilliant job to score there, mate. You know?
No, that's the thing. I've got to be honest, and to further perpetuate my image as the shallowest of rugby appreciators, when it happened, I thought it was one of the best finishes that I've ever seen. And then after, I did think that it was a jump into a tackle. So I got caught, and I do think it is a jump, because he is clearly jumping the tackle and wasn't jumping to ground the ball. So, but that just shows exactly what sort of person I am. If there's something pretty put in front of me immediately, I will appreciate and think about it later.
But that's it. That is why there were so many people who immediately you want that to be a try.
Yes, you do.
In fact, you are desperate because it was incredible. It is one of the best pieces of rugby athleticism I have ever seen. It was awesome. And there was a great clip posted by, I'm going to say, Murray Kinsella on Twitter, which was Johnny May training to do that. So with a crash pad, a crash pad in the dead goal area, Andy Farrell, who was coach at the time with the England setup, coming over with a tackle bag, and May is outstretched, practicing that piece of skill. So it's a thing you practice. But there is no law that says you can't, you know.
I've coached players, great players, but just about getting that blade onto that blade across, scenarios with guys coming across, guys in front of them, guys coming chasing them behind, at speed, standstill. You put them all into different scenarios and they practice scoring. Imagine that. Imagine being a rugby player and practicing scoring, but that's what they do for a living,
Christian Hyde says, I saw Sean score a try just like Mays.
Oh, did you, Chris? Remind me.
The multiplex.
So many.
We want more detail and pictures if possible.
Well, do you know? I think the other thing that was crossing my mind after the game is that Johnny May has got form in previous test matches and club matches for jumping into tackles. So it all adds up. And somebody in a stalkish kind of manner went through my feed and found a tweet that I put out about 4 years ago saying that about Johnny May, and I'd forgotten I'd said it. So it was, but you know what? Who cares? It was a great try. Gone.
Do you know?
Rob
if
Milligan.
If he doesn't do that, he doesn't score, does he?
I know. He'd have been. I know. It's difficult.
I don't think he would have scored, but if you can't do something illegal,
don't do it
to
legally.
score the try, then you can't do it. And we're going to get to that later in a different context.
I see your point. Yeah.
Rob Milligan saying, "Are we saying that if the Italian had tackled him during that move, it would have been a red card for tackling the air?" If we're going to get into this, you need a really smart set of officials who they'd firstly have to break it down, going, well, actually, was there a jump to avoid the tackle?
Which there was.
And that's, if you consider a couple of the commenters here saying the jump was up rather than horizontal. Anyway, look, we're spending too much time on this. It was a try. It was unbelievably spectacular, right? And Johnny May is a hell of a player.
Well done, Johnny May.
The one which might have gone under the radar, though, was the Johnny Hill try. So the Johnny Hill try was what you'd call an Exeter special, because Exeter are they are the best in the game at converting goal line chances, whether by Sean the third set piece, a tap, or just getting into position. But
see, I call this the sled, because I think I've mentioned this to you before. I saw Clermont do this to us in the 2000s somethings. Thomas Domingo fell short, and no, it wasn't Thomas Domingo. It was somebody else, but Domingo and one other, might have been Ledesma, literally got onto the guy on the floor as he hit the deck and slid him over. And that's essentially what happened with Johnny Hill, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was down. So it's something that you mightn't have picked up watching it from the first angle, but when you see the goal line angle, it's very clear. He is tackled and down. His knees are on the ground before his teammates then drive him over to score. That is not legal, and that should not have been a try. And it's fairly clear, but it's
so clever though.
It's really smart.
Those things, right? When they're deliberately coached and predetermined, I love. Right, I'm all over that like shingle. I love things like that.
It's up to the officials to stop it. Don't get me wrong.
If you don't see it, like if the ref doesn't see it, whatever. Try.
But for me, both that and the lead up to another try that Johnny May clearly knocked on, right? Why those things weren't picked up? We have TMOs, and I don't want to hang anybody out to dry, but if I got people, my phone's buzzing like mad as soon as May knocks it on, from a million people saying, that's a knock on, isn't it? Why haven't they gone back? I don't know. I'm not the TMO, And then the Hill one, because I text you, Ann, didn't I? Or in our group. I'm going, that has to be looked at again.
Yeah.
If we are saying that instantly from our pictures, then why hasn't it been picked up? Now, this is a difficult one, because I've been in trucks and I've been in those situations as coaches. Sometimes different countries have different ways of doing things from a broadcasting point of view. It can be quite difficult for a TMO, but that's no excuse. I think we have technology and angles now. If we are seeing it on telly, the TMO is seeing it. At least have a look. It's important, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going to town on the officials, then I have to bring up the Farrell one, right?
Just get straight into it now.
But not for the reason that people might think, right? Because the one where Farrell took out Varney, right? And I can absolutely see both sides. That my instinct was that Farrell takes him out, and it's a penalty, it's foul play, and you chalk it off, right? But I actually can buy the argument that it happened so fast. There was nothing serious, as in, he wasn't being deliberately mullered, right? But the interaction between TMO and ref was weird, because right until Adamson actually says everything's fine, basically, there's no foul play, I honestly still thought it was going to be a penalty and chalked off, and all they were debating was there head contact. It was just a strange dynamic to that one. But anyway, 2 cents rugby. This might not be one of the best ideas ever, but let's put it out there. The TMO just needs to monitor Twitter. Oh my God!
You imagine?
That would be interesting.
Imagine we got to that where the TMO or the ref have to justify to people on Twitter, or it could come, couldn't it?
You know what would be even better would be real-time refereeing on Twitter.
Yeah.
So as it's moving, you get flicked up 6 options, and whatever it is, a half a nanosecond after, that's the decision.
Yeah, the crowd said, the followers said it's a penalty try or review. Can you imagine Joy Neville tweeting, "My bad, sorry guys, play on."
Yeah, wouldn't that be great for an exhibition match though?
Right, we're moving on. One note: very horrible to see the Jack Willis injury. Because there's a man who's been through the ringer. So from Under the Sticks, best of luck to you, young man. Get back soon. We move to a very, very cold Murrayfield, Baltic. It was. And if you're a Scotland fan, you had a great week last week. This probably felt good for a long time. It felt very good, leading 17-3. And then bad things happened. But it's funny when you look back at it, because they were still leading when the red card happened. You know, and it was like, this is one where, Paul, we saw a lot of the unfortunate reaction to that red card, which is, I think we need to get past this in rugby for rugby to kind of survive, because otherwise we're gone. Like.
Yeah, I think we almost are past it as well. I think if you look at using Twitter is quite a good example, actually. Whereas, say, 12 months ago, you'd get 80% of people agreeing that the game's gone soft and it's going to the Dogs. Now it's probably 20% and 80% already realise. So I think it is going the right way. Somebody tweeted earlier, actually, a really good point, that in maybe 24 months, 2 seasons, it'll be like a tip tackle where you'll look back at a ruck clean out on someone's face and go, Jesus, what was that? I can't believe how barbaric rugby was just 2 years ago. And I think we're getting to that stage now. I think another 12 months, one of the key things we need to do, as I've mentioned before, is getting pundits online with it all. And, you know, we, especially very well respected former players, you know, as soon as we can almost dilute that voice of the game's gone soft, it'll adapt a lot quicker.
Yeah, the where else is he supposed to put his shoulder, and, you know, and variants of saying how else is he supposed to remove the jackler is the one which I have the biggest problem with.
Yes, you're not
going back to what we said about the try. If you can't do it legally,
exactly, then
that's not the way you do it. And if you look at the replay, actually the best replay isn't the one that's close up where you see Xander Fagerson. And they spent a lot of time trying to say, where did he hit him? Where did he make the contact? And that was about the color of card. The big one for me is the high shot where you see he comes in from so far away.
Yes, exactly right.
I think what a lot of people need to do, right, is go to a training session and see somebody of Xander Ferguson's or Peter O'Mahony's size, what they lift and shift in a gym, and how fast they run for big men, okay, on a stationary target, 3 feet off the floor, and then make your decisions, right? Because it's frightening. It's absolutely frightening, right? What the power and momentum and speed that these guys can generate. Now, for me, it's education. It's much like the high tackle. It's about Xander Ferguson had lost that race. Peter O'Mahony had lost that race. They weren't going to achieve anything other than what they've got, all right? Unless they, you know, had put their arms and got closer and slowed down and engaged and dropped their height even more, which is almost impossible to do in both scenarios. So I think the education is in the decision making. You've lost that race, don't go there. We'll concede a penalty for the jackal or whatever, because the consequences are too harsh on my team now. And you have to realize that. I think we're going a bit arse backwards here. All right, we're trying to justify that it is bottom line, head contact, and that now is the reality for everybody. Everybody who watches and involved in the game now. That is the reality now. That has to be.
I totally agree. And you know, like Andy's saying there now, it's not win at all costs, as I've mentioned before. If it's removing a player from the floor, we'll take a little glass of acid on there or some knuckle dusters or whatever. They'll get out of the way, no problem. You win the ball. That's not the point. There's a limit to where you do that. And I think what's interesting, just talking about that wider result actually, is how Wales have come out as the bad guys in both of these things. So in the Irish game and in this game, right? The Welsh have come out as, oh my God, they only beat 14 players. The other way of looking at it is that maybe the Welsh squad are understanding the current interpretations better than anybody else. So they aren't getting red cards. And I would say at the moment, understanding those new interpretations is 30% of the game. If you get those heights wrong in tackles now, you're losing a player and you've lost the game. So I'm starting to lose a little bit of patience really with this. Oh, they're winning against 14. Yes, they are, because they've managed to keep 15.
Yeah. Do you know who lost his patience?
Who?
Hamish Watson.
Yes, he did.
Lost his patience.
He did.
And I'm going to be fair to him. It is, if you're coming off a pitch after a really tight game where, and we'll get to, it was such an exciting climax to the game. So we'll get to that. But he was not happy. And he said, look, that's a rubbish call, actually a dreadful call. That's not rugby. But he also said in the same comment, we lost that game when we had 15 on the field. So he's got nothing to worry about. Because they did. They were 17-3 up, 15 men on the field, 17-7. That big loss, that's what they lost. But then he came out today, in fairness to him, said, poor comments from me. Emotions were very high after losing a very tight match. Players' health is paramount. So fair play to him.
Fair play to him, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, so let's get to some of the awesome stuff from this game, because we have the Louis Rees-Zammit awesomeness. And then we have just the crazy Scottish flair. I know, Sean, you were a big fan of some of Valley Price's work in this game.
Well, we laud about Antoine Dupont kicking from 9 for Fiku to score and so on. But when Ali Price does it, then we should. But it's beautifully read by Price, because Darcy Graham, he's got forwards quite flat on in Price, and he has to make a decision quite late. He sees Darcy come in, and it's almost like a little look to one another, and it's a beautiful kick. It really is. It's pinpoint. So it's a great bit of skill. Price's numbers weren't great, but they're 17-3 up for a reason, because he's making them tick and forwards are coming, and I quite like him. And I was looking at the sort of Guinness PRO14 candidates at 9 for the weekend, and he's up there. Ali Price, he's a bit of an underrated type player. He's been coming along nicely now. He sort of won the Scotland number 9 battle, if you like, haven't he? Hasn't he? So, but Hogg was insatiable. He's just unbelievable at the moment. Really, really love that sort of stuff. Both wingers for me played well. Like they averaged, good meters off 9-10 carries each, something like 7-8 meters per carry on average. Good stuff. I thought Matt Ferguson put a good shift in. Always puts a good shift in. Johnny Gray is just a different player since he's gone to Exeter Chiefs. Cummins is an unsung hero. Excuse me. So there's lots of good in Scotland. You've got to say, boys, outside of Wales, people will always say things about Wales, but one thing we got some character in our squad, in our boys. We're tough to beat, no matter how badly we're playing or what's against us. We're tough to beat, and that's born out of our culture in Wales and the core of the team: Ken Owens, Alan Wynne-Jones, Tipuric and Falatau, Dan Biggar, Liam Williams / Lee Halfpenny. That's that core of experience and tough boys brings that character.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know the two things I noticed? One was that Ali Price kick, which you could almost argue, right, is a Scottish rugby technique now. George Horne does that a lot. It's almost like it's part of their DNA. So George, obviously with his brother, because I presume they've been doing that since they're like 2 years old in the back garden. But it looks like it's a pre-rehearsed thing now, doesn't it? You get one runner in the midfield, chip it over the top. But the other thing I loved is just how threatened people feel by Finn Russell's pass. So they know he can zip out those mental balls over the middle of the field, and it forces them to bring their wingers up, doesn't it, a little bit to stop that space on the outside. And as soon as they see them come up, they were putting those kicks in behind our wings once they were up 5 or 10 feet. And it was so effective. The amount of balls that Liam Williams at the track back to get and zam it. And I was just really impressed with the way they put it in behind.
Yeah, the thing with Murrayfield as well is there's normally there's big dead ball areas. There's still quite a big dead ball area there, but you have the feeling at Murrayfield a very spacious place. Which I know the lines are probably the same, but it just feels like you've got a bit more space there. So even for Hogg's kick that Halfpenny, fumbled, they had a plan to kick in behind. But what we're seeing on the footage, and I'm so pleased for Jonathan Humphreys, the guy I used to coach with, is that our lineup went so much better. It's had so much stick in Wales. And it went so much better. And our maul was really good. I think Adam Beard is instrumental in that. So that's a massive plus for us going into the England game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're, anyone who hasn't been watching Premiership Rugby might not have seen Louis Zamet or Zamit, as one of our commenters says. I don't know if that's true or not. It's a Maltese Italian name. But you cannot teach pace like that. Like he showed for that chip try. That is electric pace.
Yeah.
That's scary pace. That is game-changing pace. And you genuinely, there are a lot of fast players in international rugby, and when he makes very fast people look like they're turning like an oil tanker, man, that is sweet.
But that's what was weird, because when he went round doing Van der Merwe, you could almost see the panic in their faces. Like, oh my God, he's a proper god. And Hogg, and you think a fast Hogg is off the mark. You could see Hogg was thinking, oh my God, right, he's gone now. And you don't often see that with players like Hogg. It was and to kick a ball at that at full pace. You try doing that, right, as an average person, you'll snap your ankles and fall on the floor. Isn't it? It's a real skill to do that at full pace. It's
Jacob Stockdale is excellent at it for a big man. He's got a soft boot. And because you can, if you're going fast, your momentum alone from your sprinting feet,
that's right,
you can horse that ball, and it takes a real delicacy of touch to land that ball. It was just an excellent try.
What worse than that, at lower level, you can miss that ball entirely, and then you've gone 10 feet past it.
I don't know if we can go back out and see it. But what's really clever about that is where he kicks it. All right, so I think Adam's going to try and get to the kick now.
I know where you're going here, and you're absolutely right.
Now he kicks it, right? Here we go. Lovely. Somebody put this on telly the week before that Wales could find the edge from a kick return like this. But watch this now. They found the edge. He's done the damage on the gas there, but he kicks it infield. Now he kicks it straight down the tram, and Hogg runs into his running channel. Or Van der Merwe or Cairns gets him on the angle. The fact that he's kicked it just infield, all right, has given him that opportunity to get him in that passing channel, if you like, between Hogg and Van der Merwe, run a free line. And now this is what you were talking about, Paul. Van der Merwe's given up. Hogg's going, oh my God. It's all about the bounce now. They're praying for it to bounce up over his head or kick on. And he gets the bounce. It's brilliant.
The other clever thing, and it's so, like you say, that detail of kicking it infield, it takes out the weird bounce into touch, doesn't it? So that's half the risk gone immediately, isn't it? It's that's the detail at test level.
I cannot let this game go by without the absolute the final act of Finn Russell single-handedly fighting off 5 Welshmen to keep the ball alive. It's mad when you look at it again and again. Gets Van der Merwe away, who he's gone. He's absolutely gone. And I know we have the Watkin tackle, which was brilliant. It's a brilliant technical tackle. But the thing that he's even more gone, you think, because his step inside had already put Rhys Zamet on his arse.
He's gone. He's gone. Yeah, that's why I put him in my team of the week. I know we conceded a try, with the missed tackle.
Yeah.
But that ankle tap, that saved the match. It's
that Liam Williams attacking Hogg without the ball, but we leave that one go.
That's big stuff.
Owen Watkin is a good young player. He's a good young player. I left him out purely on the Hog try because he's gone too high. He should know better. He could side him down there.
He won't do that again, though. That's the thing, isn't it? When it's like when you're a doctor, isn't it? You see it once, do it once, and it's that sort of thing at test level, isn't it?
That was very exciting. Well done, Wales. Grand Slam, surely now a guaranteed cert. That's what we're saying here, isn't it, lads?
It's on.
Right.
So
Ireland 13, France 15. France might have something to say about that Welsh Grand Slam, but it was a weird game to watch. It was really strange. I will say, I thought it was very well refereed. I thought Luke
Very well refereed.
excellently. He was really good. Ref in 2 languages, Welsh foreign, yeah, claim him. Ireland dominated the first 20. It was really strange. It was as if the French had sort of said, do you know what? We're so good. We're just going to have a defensive drill for the first 20 and then get a man sin binned just to see how good we are. It was odd, but Ireland could not turn that into points.
It's the lack of line breaks is a real worry. You know me, I'm a suck, and I know it's a very rudimentary measure for looking at attacking rugby. When you've got under 5 or 6 line breaks, that's a problem. You need 10 plus to be creating problems, 15 to be causing mayhem. Ireland, when you're at 5 line breaks, you're not going to score tries. Well, you might get a few from mauls, but you're not going to be making the easy points. So it is a worry.
It's not good because rugby, in my book, this is an unscientific thing, but rugby has momentum and there's swings in games. And basketball is the perfect example of that, where everyone just gets their turn to score. Rugby in its own way can be a slower version of that. So when you have your time in the opposition third, you have to take points because the opposition will get their time too, and they will take theirs. And this just was a great example of going, yeah, Ireland are now losing this game. They really should have been up, and the French haven't had their time yet, Sean.
Yeah, and do you know what makes that even more pronounced for France? The first real attack they had about 5 offloads in it. They just went bang, 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 offload, through the goal. It was my mouth was open like, my
Amazing.
God, it'd been all Ireland
for
nothing really. And then they have one attack, and that I think just goes to show how confident in their own ability they are and the type of players that they've now got. Go back to the Italy chat, they've come through. I thought Aldrit was fantastic.
Oh my God, he's brilliant.
He's a brilliant player. Fiku has always had that Gavin Henson-like persona, talent around him, but he's almost comfortable in this team, and he's really well balanced alongside Arthur Vincent, who's a totally different sort of player. Doolan at fullback was man of the match. He only had 5 carries for 22 meters, but his kicking game was so good, that he was just composed. And when he did have the ball, it was a brilliant little offload. You got to say, Jalabert's come in. All the talk was about Ntamak. Jalabert's come in, and you think, oh my God, they've got another one. Yeah, and then they've got pretty beastie sort of front file. LaRue and Willems were nasty, weren't they?
Yeah.
So it's a bit ominous at the moment. But Ireland do disappoint me. I mean, go back to Paul's thing. Entry into 22, score. You look at all the Leinster stats. Fantastic. Munster, never say die. Gonna get you at the end. Ulster, extravagant, wide play, scoring brilliant tries off first phase. We're not seeing any of that converted into a green shirt.
Yeah,
and that's the question which we sort of threw into the group chat earlier on today. Like, why aren't we seeing that? I mean, it just seems a bit. Firstly, let's talk about one thing. This Ireland team were without Sexton and Murray for the first time since I think 2011 in a Six Nations game. James Ryan's not there either. Tyke Furlan's only coming back. So these are big world-class names. But sorry, hold on. Producers coming in from behind the scenes. I can actually see him asking this with feeling. How can you have Henshaw, Ringrose, Keenan and Lowe in your back line and not make breaks? That is also a fair comment.
But I tell you what, though, the reason why is because Lowe was pre-programmed to kick anything in his own half. Even when there were little gaps outside and like a 3-on-2, he was just blasting balls deep. They've obviously been told to run anything in your own half, regardless. And he was kicking, and I think in the end he was kicking balls when he didn't want to, because he didn't want. He was just blasting them out on the full. It didn't look like he wanted to be doing what he was doing. if you've got boys like that and you've got space in the halfway, you just go for it. You know, you've got Hugo Keenan filling in that little channel. What can't he do?
He's very, very good at rugby. He had another excellent game, perhaps a bit quieter, like excellent game. There were a lot of French mistakes in that second half. If you were French, you'd be very, very happy with their third quarter. Not so happy with their fourth quarter, because they let Ireland back into that game when really Ireland shouldn't have had a sniff, because they lost their way badly after you had the Burns HIA. You had the horrible, horrible head clash between Healy and Henderson.
That was nasty.
You know, I was very surprised straight up to see them both come back. I would have assumed that, you know, between Blood and HIA, whatever, that they didn't, but they both came back. Let's trust the docs on that. But Ireland looked completely rattled for about 10 minutes. Completely rattled.
They did. And, you know, before we move on, can I quickly say one thing about Dupont? Because everyone said he didn't have his best game on the weekend. And I totally disagree. Because he didn't have his 30-meter line break, you know, offloading the ball off his back like some kind of weird little insect, admittedly. But he kicked so well. His tactical kicking, he as soon as the fullback or wing was out of position, bang, he was dropping balls in. And that little reverse pass he does when he runs that little arc and he pops it back into Aldrete, you know, what can you do about that? You're either getting a massive number 8 coming onto you, or he's going to zip through the line. So it's I thought he was different, but just as effective.
He's a rugby alien. He walks among us. He's incredible. Right. Holley's heroes for the week, selected from who is our PRO14 15 of the week. Sean.
Yeah, this was a difficult task that Adam sent me. When he texted me, I said, well, yeah, absolutely. But then when you come down to it, it's quite tough, right? Because, you know, Hogg was obviously the standout 15, but he's playing an extra Chiefs. He's not a Guinness PRO14. So I've gone for Keenan. You know, in contrast to Doolan, I think he carried 10 times for 90-odd meters. You know how much I like this kid. I couldn't really give it to anybody in the Welsh team because Halfpenny was pretty average. Liam is short of games. I thought both wings were good. I did have Monty Ioane in at one point. I did. Why? Because of his try, and I think he looks quite comfortable on the stage. But I opted for Graham for his try, and then when I looked at the stats, you know, Duan van der Merwe was heavily involved again. I just think Ringrose has got class. I think he's a lion in the making. It was Henshaw for me last week, but I thought Ringrose showed some real touches there in the weekend. Price we've talked about. Now, Halaholo I put in because I thought he had an impact. And again, when I looked at the other 12s, you know, I was looking for something, a point of difference. And I went Halaholo because it was his first cap, even at the age of 30, and he made an impact in the game. And I'm going to get some stick for picking Garbisi at 10 because he passed an interception and he's a little bit loose at times, but we've talked about it in the show. Paulo Garbisi is a star, a future star. And for that reason, I love his attitude and the way he plays. So he went in at 10. Standards numbers were huge. Tries so hard, this guy. He needs a foil. That's what he does for Ireland. He's not getting one at the moment. Watson, for all his comments on the red card, was fantastic. And another 6 has stepped up enough for me. So I moved Tips over to 6 because he's absolute class. He's the best player in the Northern Hemisphere for me, and I will always bang that drum. He is absolutely fantastic. Beard was great for Wales in that maul and defending mauls, and he's coming good. And I went for Cummins as an unsung hero. I couldn't pick Johnny Gray. I could have gone either of the Irish second rows. I really could have, but I was looking for some balance there, and I just give it a Cummins. Why? Because I like him. You know, I like him, and we're going to name Tag Byrne and Henderson. You know, we are in the future, so I just wanted to give him an up. Porter is a go-to for me at the moment.
He's a starting tight end, isn't he, at the moment?
He's a go-to guy. His numbers are good. His scrum is good. He's effective. His body shape, I like his dynamism. Ken Owens, because he was part of resurrecting the Welsh lineout, and Wyn Jones is the first name on a team sheet at the moment. A man of the match last week, and another fantastic performance this week. So he's playing really well.
And he's got the extraordinary talent of getting an opponent sent off 2 weeks in a row.
Hey, listen.
It was Thomas Francis last week.
Yeah, it was Francis last week. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair point. I will say I know what you're saying about Cummings. I think that's a good shout, because we will talk more about Byrne and Henderson. Henshaw, I did think had an effective game for Ireland.
Yeah.
But yeah, Halaholo was a lovely video that the Welsh Rugby Union released, actually, of Halaholo getting his first.
Do you know what was weird about Henshaw? Because Sean tasked me with picking my team, and I was quite pleased. I got 9 out of 15 for my my test this week, which is pretty good. It's like a C minus. I was happy with that. But Henshaw only carried for 2 meters in the whole game, which you'd never, because I put him in my team, but you'd never think that just the other things he did was so important. Like
Henshaw had some quite
numbers
appropriate
on everything.
You know, he had some Reese Ruddock carries.
Yeah, there we go.
You know, where your only job is to take that ball
and don't go backwards.
Don't go backwards. Suck as many opponents in as possible and still keep the ball. I think, by the way, Reese Ruddock had a quietly effective game as well.
Yeah.
Great to see him in an Ireland shirt. First Six Nations start is extraordinary to me.
That was Reese Ruddock's first Six Nations start.
I can be fact checked in the comments if you want, but I'm almost sure it's his first ever Six Nations start. Right?
Can we qualify? Davis 85M said no Zamet. This was a team of Guinness PRO14 players. So that's why. Could you really believe that I wouldn't have picked Lewis Reese Zamet?
And Varney would have been in, wouldn't he? You know, there were lots of players who would have. You know, Varney would have been your 9.
Hogg, Johnny Gray.
There we go.
You know.
It's tricky picking
was
those.
Excellent.
In fact, once you asked me to do that, it was quite unpleasant doing it, because it's like maths, because it's not just picking your favorite players. It's like, who can you have and who can't you?
So now here's the Varney plays. We could have picked.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, sorry, we could have picked Varney. Oh my God.
Yeah. All right.
Who do you think you played for?
That's a miss. That's a miss.
My miss. Sorry.
So here's a question: would any of the 4 home captains make the Lions test?
I'll let Williams go first on this.
Hang on, say that again. I'm looking at Varney.
Okay, so would any of the 4 home test captains make the Lions test team? Right.
Oh God.
So this is an interesting one. Sean, you threw this out there, so you don't get to throw it to Paul, right?
Well, Hogg makes it.
Hogg's in for sure, I think. He's nearly. I think he's looking starting Lion now. Nearly.
Yeah. It's his jersey. It's his jersey right now.
To lose, yeah.
I mean, so you could say Alan Wynne would make the tour. All right, Alan Wynne would make the tour. Why? For obvious reasons, and he's playing well enough. But there are lots of second row options. But you would take him on tour, and then it would depend on his form and that. So he's on the plane, right, or on the coach if we're playing home. But so there's 2 out of the 4. Well, here we go. I'll leave the best to last, is it? But will Owen Farrell get in the England team against Wales? Well, we know he will, but is he warranted a selection at the moment? You know, do you go on past form and this, that, and the other? The guy's not playing well. He's not played in a while. He's reckless. He's a liability. He's a real tough guy, and he's a brilliant rugby player when he's at his best. But if you pick him today, you got to ask yourself, well, he wouldn't be in there, would he? He wouldn't. And would Sexton?
I don't think Sexton isn't making the first 15. It just, you can't. He won't finish a game, and it's not that he won't finish the game. It's just he can't. That's
the thing. I don't know whether. Yeah, sorry. No, go on. It's like you say. And you think how attritional Lions tours are, right? You can't just play the test matches, can you? You've got to play your way into that team. They start from scratch when you go out there. You know, you've all got a chance to play. You know, is he going to be able to make that tour? Gatland didn't take players on the last tour because he didn't think that they'd make it through the whole thing. So,
that's the thing, and I don't think Sexton's getting there. It was an interesting point someone said today, and forgive me, I forget where I read this. It was asking that in order to extend Sexton and to actually keep him involved and to influence an Irish team, do you make him into an impact substitute to come on for 15 minutes at the end? And I thought that was quite interesting. So you give someone the experience of running the team to start, and you've got your man to step in towards the end. That was interesting to me. Not any player could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. It's tricky. The biggest one for me is the Alan Wynne-Jones thing. I mean, will Sean get dragged into that? I don't know. But
no, I mean, I don't think it's a biggie, because I think there'll be, if you picked Alan Wynne-Jones in the squad to talk, nobody would bat an eyelid.
no,
Yeah.
I know.
Nobody would bat an eyelid whatsoever. It's a bit like Paulie on his last tour, but it's just down to then the test week, what his form is like, what his fitness is like, what the other form of fitness. Let's say it was this week, James Ryan's out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know.
And you're looking at, is it Johnny Hill or Maro? Well, at the moment, Maro's playing really well, but he's on the edge. So it would be Maro and James Ryan on form for me, with Alan Wynne there. He's sort of there. But then Johnny Gray all of a sudden is stepping up and playing like he could be a Lion. It's a great question. It's a great question. I threw it into the group chat about, just purely on if we were picking it today after the last 2 rounds now. And Farrell and Sexton wouldn't make it for me, and Hogg and Alan Wynne would. But that's now.
I think what's really difficult, and particularly, living in Wales, obviously, to even discuss the subject about Alan Wynne-Jones is really difficult, because you are almost talking about somebody who should nearly have a statue, right? Even though he hasn't finished playing. And then some games you see him and he's still absolutely a test Lion. And then other ones, you just think other players are slightly nudge in front of him. So it's a very difficult thing, It's
one of those ones, mate, where, like, I've been on lots of Lions tours live to watch. He could do maybe a job in the first test.
Yes.
And then he could do it, but it might 1, 2, 3 like that.
Big ask in it.
You've got younger animals, but he would do a brilliant job on tour.
Yeah,
he would.
Can I drop a name into the second row conversation? Currently injured, but I'm a big fan. Joe Launchbury.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a big fan of Launchbury. He's a big lump of a dude, and he can do a lot. So hopefully his leg break isn't too bad. But we will start to move on. Live fact check on the pod. Gloucester Rugby have been in touch with our legal people to ask when the hell Varney moved from Gloucester. So we take that one on the chin. We got a little bit excited, but these things happen.
That really spun me out as well, because I like to try and get things like that correct, and then I was like, oh god, I've been looking at.
Sorry, I missed that. Was it Varney
plays for Gloucester?
Yeah.
We got a bit excited. Right. So we'll move off Six Nations chat. In our week's break from Six Nations, we're back on the 27th, 28th. Italy, Ireland, Wales, England, France, strong favourites against Scotland. We'll see how that all goes. Pro14 news. There are some back rows in the news for various different reasons. Dan Levy, unfortunately, is out for the rest of the season. He's having.
Poor boy.
The only good news here is that it is a preventative surgery, we're told.
Right.
As opposed to something's gone really badly wrong with his comeback, because he was playing great. And after an injury like that, 19 months out, it was great.
He's been playing excellent. Yeah. Really he would have been close to coming back to the squad. Definite.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah. One injury for Ireland in the back row. He's probably your next in, isn't he?
Or red card.
Or red card.
And especially because we've still have Quaylen Doris he remains out, and this is one of the things which I know we don't like to see, but I think people maybe outside rugby have a very cynical view of concussions and HIAs and how they're handled now. But Quaylen Doris is still not back playing rugby because he is still showing signs of concussion. And that is something we would not have seen 10 years ago, or would not have existed. Right. So this is a good thing. And we hope he gets back soon, because Ireland are missing him. Another back row who's going to be back in the Pro 14s, Dan Baker. former Osprey. He is signed with the Dragons. So
It's a good signing too, actually.
Yeah, very good. Got out of his contract in France, whatever. He's happy.
Yeah,
Everyone's
as
happy.
long as he's fit. He's had some serious injuries, Dan. Obviously, coached him as a youngster coming through, and he's, for a big man, great feet and a ball carrier. Where we've lacked some ball carriers in the back row, so that's a good one. Yeah,
and a certain Mr. Kolisi has left Western Province for the Sharks. A very long statement that he's penned to the Western Province fans, which is nice to see. But yes, in the Sharks. So as part of the cast of thousands who will be joining the Rainbow Cup, this is good news. This is good news, selfishly, for us. It will be interesting to see how this all goes, Paul, but it's nice to think about a name like that being involved in the competition.
Well, do you know what? That he's like, proper big marquee name. And I was looking through just what we've got coming, just some of the plays I'm looking forward to, and it's ridiculous. Kerwin Bosch, I was looking at Elton Yankis, Kolisi, and then different level with Kirchhoff and Malherbe, Steph Dutoit and Damian Williams. I mean, that's just a tiny little tapas from the main meal.
It's pretty mouth-watering, really. I started doing some analysis this week on one of the teams, and we're going to see a different brand from them. We're going to have to do our homework as Pro14 teams, because you kick loose to these guys, when the weather's getting better on great grounds up here, when the Rainbow Cup's going to be on. We're going to have to do some running around and catching. They got some great counter-attacking players, but they've got then that physicality that I can't wait to see, like Munster against the Bulls,
Oh man, or Munster Stormers. We all think it's going to be like back three players running the ball back. You've got Kirchhoff and Malherbe in your front row. That scrum's not going anywhere. Right, so all Malherbe's like he weighs like a sort of mammal that lives in the water, not on land. He's like 25, 26. He's ridiculous. He is an actual physical flesh anchor. I can't wait to see players like that in the Pro 14.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good, and it will be interesting to see how all this is managed, because I know, look, we can't have the will the Lions tour conversation go ahead while also saying, well, the Rainbow Cup, how we handle it. So. Yeah. I don't know, but it would make sense if you think back to when we got back into rugby. We had like the Irish teams played against each other, the Wales team plays against each other. To minimize travel and all that. I think it will make sense if we see something like that.
Well, that's the obvious way to start it, isn't it? Get some derbies out of the way, get it up and running, and then manage bubbles once the vaccines will be up and running. Even greater.
Blend in the South African teams.
Get the blend
up into the championship. While we're on this, Steve, Mario DeMarco, good one actually. Glasgow signed Jack Dempsey. I do like the way he's done well since he was a 1920s prize fighter in America.
I tell you what, Jack, that went under the radar a little bit. He's a good player, Jack Dempsey.
Yeah, when you get a player with 15 or 16 test caps, that's all right.
Can I just squeeze in one more really quick thing about back row forwards? And I know Adam's going to go mental because we're probably overrunning. But another almost like new signing is Ellis Jenkins coming back to the Pro 14 after his layoff.
Great job.
Right. So he played this week for Cardiff A, essentially. And it's great to see him back, Great for the league.
Yeah, I commentated on the game for the live stream, and it was real privilege to see him run out. Yeah, first 40 minutes, scored a try, following up on the inside. He put one big jackal for a penalty in on his own line, and I was commentating with Nick Williams, friend of the pod, and we both sort of went, but he got the penalty and got up and trotted away. He was like,
yeah, he looks stronger than ever. I saw him in Cardiff recently. I tell you what, he looks rigid. Let's put it that way.
Is in one of your many coffee shop stalking
encounters, exactly. Yeah.
If we're talking about various competitions and how they'll manage it, Super Rugby is starting quite soon. Super Rugby Aotearoa is starting in 2 weeks, and Super Rugby Australia is starting next week. Williams Jenkins looks rigid.
Yeah, I meant in his proportions over the ball, not in a sexual manner. Redmond, there's no need for that.
I'm just going to leave it with a silence there in the show. But we've no. If anyone out there in TV land can get the TV rights sorted, so at least we get this worry out of our heads, because we're still in lockdown. We all need this, right? We love our Six Nations. We love our Guinness PRO14, but you know what? We also like Saturday morning rugby, folks. That's
Correct.
what we like.
Yeah,
So
early morning.
Paul, yeah, I know you're in trouble with this.
Well, I'm almost like a one-man sort of pitchfork army on Twitter. You know, COVID's on its way out, and now I've got to deal with this. So it's, one man can only take so many setbacks, and I need Super Rugby Otareya on telly soon.
How are we going to get it?
We got Chiefs girl with a phone just doing an illegal stream.
Yeah, just on front of his Skype. Well, there is
easy.
There's no. It starts week Saturday coming, and there's no TV deal. And the thing is, there's a very real chance it mightn't happen. You look at the top 14. We lost that. We don't get to see that anymore. This is no joke. I'm not even going to try and laugh. This is serious stuff. I want that on TV.
So is it going to be streamed in some fashion?
Not legally.
Not legally, it won't be.
No. So it's if you want to see some of the best rugby in the world, I don't understand why it can't be on TV.
Never mind TV. Why can't they do an over-the-top version where you just... I mean, if it's only going to be the absolute nutballs who want to watch it on a Saturday morning, grand. Nutballs with money can pay for it. I will pay for a quality product that you will just release to me on something, right? And I will watch it on my laptop. Fine, right?
Absolutely.
But don't give me no option. That's, oh God. Anyway, right. We will pick this up. We will pick this up because the closer we get, the Australian version is happening this week. We might be too close to the wire for that, but my God, if we get to Super Rugby Aotearoa and we can't watch it, well, we'll have lockdown marches in our living rooms. We can't.
Well, I'll be in jail. I'll be doing this live from jail with a dirty protest.
Our good friend Swaney streamed on Stan in Australia.
Yeah.
Did anyone say VPN? Someone said VPN.
Anyone say see you all in court?
Yeah, right. We're not encouraging anything that would be illegal or against our broadcast partners' interest. Isn't that right, lawyers?
Correct.
Right, let's throw up we have PRO14 action this coming weekend. Let's have a look at the fixtures first. On Friday night, we have Glasgow Warriors versus Ulster. And we have Dragons hosting Leinster at a hopefully unfrozen Rodney Parade. We move into Saturday. Scarlets Benetton, 3:00. Ospreys Zebre, 5:15.
Double header for Holley, Premier Sports. I'll be doing a hub back-to-back. Scarlets Benetton, Ospreys Zebra. So
nice.
Looking forward to it.
Italian Welsh feast.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. Then we got 2 games on at 7:35, and there's something on the line in both of these. Edinburgh, Munster. Munster can consider them. They are fairly safe at the top. Now they do have to play Connacht, right? But they will have to do something very silly to give up that 10-point lead at the top of Conference B. Edinburgh have to win. Edinburgh have a chance of getting to that 3rd place for Europe. If they don't win this game, they're just going to be getting further behind very quickly. Yeah. Connacht and Cardiff Blues. Now that is an interesting little game because Cardiff can really get themselves up away from that little bunch of sides beneath and put pressure on Connacht. But if Connacht win, they're really now putting a gap between themselves and the rest of them with games running out the rest of the season. So this is very interesting, that game. I think there could be some channel switching.
Yes. I think Connacht. I was impressed with them at the Dragons. Andy, friend of the pod, and I just think Blues are missing too many key players to go to Galway. And I think the importance of the game, with the game in hand, Connacht can put that one to bed. You know what I mean? So That's a Connacht win for me. Edinburgh, Munster's an interesting one. Munster might be thinking, oof, big fat cigar. Thank you very much. Edinburgh, last chance saloon, but have they got the ammo? No.
I think what's important there is Connacht's still got Carty, haven't they? So,
yeah.
When you've got key players that you manage to retain, that's a big deal.
It is, and a lot on the line for someone like. There's some players who really want to play themselves into selection for especially Ireland now this week.
Yeah.
Interesting that Craig Casey didn't get on at the week. In fact, that was an unusual game when you see two nines last the whole game. Very unusual.
Yeah, very. But you see it a lot more now. Anyway, weirdly.
We Conference A, Leinster top 50 points, Ulster second. 46 points. They're well ahead of Ospreys in third on 27. Glasgow 15, Dragons 14. Both have only played 10, and Zebre with 13 points. So that's an interesting situation there. We need something strange to happen now for Conference A to be upset, and we've already talked about Conference
that Ulster-Leinster game coming up in a few weeks is
that's the biggie, isn't it?
It's something you'd want to almost watch along with other people.
With Loch Lomond.
Perhaps, if they were very, very nice to us. Right, here we go. Some of the best questions and comments. Thank you for all your comments in here, because it's been absolutely flying. If you don't know how this works, we've got a little thing at the side where we can flick between the private chat where we're going like this bit next, or you idiot, Barney still plays for Gloucester, right?
Yeah.
And the comments where you're governed. Okay.
There it is.
If we're doing the watch alongs, apparently we're working for free, folks. That could still happen.
Could still happen.
We love
See how fed up we are.
Yeah. Right. Comments of the week. There were some good ones. Adam, start throwing them in here now. We'll work on this. There was a good one here from Christian. Ewan Davis. Seeing France without Bakatawa, no one mentions how much Fiku come on 5 years ago. Didn't know if he was centre or winger. Now in charge of the French backs defense. He's a lovely player. Lovely.
Yeah, we mentioned him earlier. Yeah, and defensively, something like Sean Edwards is probably what Fiku needed. He probably needed somebody to pin a leadership role on him, and he's got that in the defense. Arthur Vincent is an unsung hero for me. It's almost a very, very majestic selection from Fabien Galtier, because they complement one another, and that's what you need in a centre partnership, isn't it? Yeah. So, but Vakatawa, again, it's funny how things happen, isn't it? Arthur Vincent has come to the fore because Vakatawa's out. Disappointing, and I think he's going to be back for Wales.
Oh, is he? Yeah. But you think that Vincent's so young? What's he, 21, 22?
He was captain of the last French under 20, so 2 years ago, yeah.
22. So he's got a very long career in front of him. He's going to go all the way.
Chiefs girl, was Price the Scottish player who kicked the ball away when Scotland were hard in attack with only a few minutes to go? Funny you should mention that. Yes, it was.
Twitchy nines.
It's a bit of a theme the last couple of weeks. Fish 1167. Paul, please stop your Twitter predictions. Predicted Scotland by 7, and we all know how that went.
I don't think Fish. It's about Paul stopping his Twitter predictions. It's about people like you listening to him.
This is online bullying. No, I do. I take your point.
What did you say? Draw 23-all.
Yeah.
Far off, was I?
Like I said before, all of these predictions can stop for your team if you just send unused bills to my home address.
Well, I think
DMs are open.
I took some of your power, Paul, during the Irish first half when I asked, after exactly 27 minutes, when is the French team bus going to arrive at the Aviva, because they hadn't shown up, and literally within 20 seconds. 20 seconds, all those offloads happened. I was like,
no. Do you know what's awful? Is it started as a little bit of a joke, and now it's actually coming true. I'm beginning to worry a bit.
Fogged Dragon asks if Ellis Jenkins quickly gets back to top form. Lions
too close. No, if
Yeah,
the Lions happens this summer, then no, let's not put any pressure on the kid. You know, it's been over 900 days, 2 years. Let's just get him back playing a full match at the moment. Let alone that. So he hasn't made the Cardiff Blues team yet.
and the other thing
So-
is he's also playing in the most stacked position that the Lions have got. You know,
Yeah.
they're a ridiculously good players who won't be going on
Nice
that.
thought, but let's push the Lions back 1 year and then he'll have a chance.
It might still happen. Ewan Davis, glad Ellis Jenkins scored for the Blues against the Ospreys team after 800 plus days out.
Yeah,
Here. There was one came in from Chiefs Girl. Chiefs Girl, it's on Stan in Australia and Sky in New Zealand. That refers to Super Rugby. We'll just have to help each other out, people. It might come to that, right? There was one came in on Twitter to the Under the Sticks Twitter account from Brendan S, also known as Captain Nerb. It's about the Italians. Excellent shithousery from the Italians, twice throwing an English player's boot away.
It's good.
Yeah.
Anything like that. I loved the Italians pinning Curry on the floor in the opening 20 minutes. 3 players on him. It's beautiful. WWE, you're staying there for 2 rucks. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's all part of the game. Also, says Captain Nerb. Also a great scrum first mentality from Anthony Watson when packing down at 8. Still pushing long after the ball was gone.
Yeah. That's what you get for backs. That's why they're so good entering and driving more, because they're told that leg drive is most and body height is the most important thing. And even when the hookers dotted it down, they're still going in front of them forward. It's fantastic.
Paul Ty 512 629 10. Lads, there's too many numbers in that now. Can Keenan be a future Lions player?
I'd say definitely.
He can, I think he can. I like him. Very few mistakes, great work, great. Tommy Bow, there you go. Tommy was a double Lion, so
there's a smoothness to Keenan that is uncommon.
There's an innocence about him. There's a nice innocence about him and smoothness, nice running style, effective, unassuming, and that makes him dangerous for me. So I'm consistent, like him. Yeah.
That's the big thing. It's the lack of mistakes, isn't it? That's what you like to see in those early test players. Because if you make too many, you don't get to play again. Whereas if you can keep those down, you get to show what you can do.
There was a comment from Christian Hyde that I'm going to paraphrase here because I can't find it. But Christian was saying that if isn't just a shame that with so many rugby referee experts on Twitter that some of them couldn't actually just go off and actually become rugby referees. And you know what, Christian? You're right. There's loads of rugby referee courses that all the unions and branches around our countries run. And you know what? If maybe you've got to sort of your late 20s and you can't take the injuries anymore, but you want to do your thing, get involved. Seriously, I refereed a couple of seasons of tag rugby. It was great fun. You actually learned some of the elements of how to whistle and all that. Is it 15s? No. Did it give people a game every week? Yes.
I refereed and the 12s game once and I nearly cried.
People on the sideline.
Yeah, bullying. Me not knowing the rules quickly enough.
It's horrendous.
It's so hard.
It's the lowest form of society, football and rugby. And I would stand in the corner with a hat on when I watch my kids play sport. Embarrassing to see human beings behave like that, men and women. And you're right, Andy. These people take their time out, right? They put their necks on the block and they give us a game. I know we've had a little pop today at some of the officiating, but that's different. That's professional sport. You've reached that upper echelons. You've got to get things right. But we are human. We understand that. But in lower leagues where people are volunteering, to get games on, I put my hand up to them. I think they're brilliant.
And you know what? No matter how much you think you know about rugby, having it instantly available in your brain when it's happening in front of your eyes is different to sitting on the TV. It's a different world.
Yep, 100% agree. And I will say that on another day, maybe in a future day, Mike Adamson tears Owen Farrell a new one what he said to him on the field. I don't think he ever gets away with that again with that referee.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jamo James, refereeing Sunday morning rugby is like going to war.
Yeah, Jamo knows. It's horrendous. It is.
And the younger, the worse, because the
Well, it
parents
is.
are...
Normie the Navvy, 12-year-olds are vicious. Yes,
Yeah,
they are.
nasty.
Right. I think we're done. Gentlemen, that is a wrap. Thank you, Sean Holley. Thank you, Paul Williams. Thank you, Adam Redmond, pulling the strings as always. Thank you to all of you who've given us some of your time, whether watching along live on this Monday evening or listening back while you're doing whatever you are doing. That was Under the Sticks, brought to you by Pro14 Rugby. My name is Andy McGeady. Thanks for listening or watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
They call me cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Ooh, cheetah, cheetah, cheetah.